Okay, this morning I was thinking what I'd really like to try is what happens if I just show up and set my timer to 10 minutes and try not to premeditate what this 10-minute post will be about. And kind of in line with what I posted yesterday. This idea to be playful and not overthink things. What happens actually if I try to clear my mind, sit down, hit record, and just see what comes up and talk about that or think about that for 10 minutes. And that's very interesting because I noticed right away when I thought about that this morning and thought, yeah, you should do that. You should try that and just test that. Test this hypothesis that I have that I don't really need to pre-plan or pre-think this. But again, right away, I noticed being a little bit nervous about that. Like what if nothing comes up? What if I'm just sitting here and what I decide to say sounds like nonsense or sounds like something that isn't interesting and nobody wants to listen to? Like what if that happens? And then seeing this kind of fear around that, like no, that's not going to work. That's not going to make a very good video. You can't just kind of like sit down, hit record, and then allow something to come up, because what comes up might not be that great or it might not be that interesting. And that's funny because that then is in opposition to what I was saying previously in my videos about not really being worried about whether what I make here is good or interesting or appealing to anybody else anyways. So there's that. And I think that for me at least, I'm starting to notice that it's not really a problem. Like here I am, I'm sitting here, I hit record and I'm already talking about things. There's always something to talk about. There's always something to share. And maybe for me right now, that is the real lesson for myself, that I don't really need to overthink every little thing that I do. What needs to be shared or what needs to be said actually can come up in the moment. And maybe the pre-thinking and the pre-planning can sometimes get in the way, at least for me, in what really wants to be here, now. And I mean, what I mean by that is, like what wants to be said, like what wants to be said through me. I guess that sounds a little spiritual, but it is, and I'm cool with that. I like that. But I guess for me, I see again, that how often in my life that can be a real barrier towards just allowing what wants to be expressed in a particular moment to be expressed. And seeing that's fine, whatever that is. And to move away from a personal judgment about whether that's the right thing, the wrong thing, it's good or bad, whether people like it, don't like it, whether I like it, don't like it, how it sounds. And know that in the moment, that's all that's needed. And even if it's nothing, like maybe 10 minutes of silence could be a good thing if that's what wants to be. You know, maybe not having anything in my mind to talk about or share isn't necessarily a bad thing. Um, Maybe that's what's needed in a moment sometimes, and that can be okay as well. And I was talking to my friend yesterday about this, and how ironic it is that when I let go of the the pressure that I put on myself to come up with something interesting or come up with something appealing for a project like this, when I let go of that, something more interesting actually does come up. And I feel a greater sense of freedom about the whole thing, which is really the ideal state for me anyways. That's actually what I'm looking for, is just this sense of freedom of expression, and my longing for that 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 feeling of freedom to just allow whatever creative exploration or creative expression wants to come up in a moment to be there, and to, take an action on that. And then it feels more like it's fun. And there's that sense of anxiety or that sense of fear about what I'm doing. Does it matter? Is it valuable? Is this a waste of time? YouTube videos, is what I'm doing here right now, recording this, is this like a waste of my time? Is this silly? I notice that dissipates, that goes away, and in its place is just this open, free space, like it's like a playground where there are no rules and there are no pressures and there is no anxiety and there is no fear, because nothing wrong can happen. Like, there is no way that this can be a failure, because it doesn't need to win. It can't lose if you're not playing a game of win or lose. And that's great. That brings me this, like, really, like a sense of joy, I guess, is what I want to say. Yeah, and I really brings me back to a place of knowing that this is fine. This is whatever I want it to be, and whatever wants to be shared. And I'm really excited about that. Let's see where I'm at. 2 more minutes. Perfect. Creating constructs already for myself. 10 minutes. I think that's good though. The 10-minute thing keeps me a little bit focused. And that's always been something in my life that I think I've struggled with. Focus. There's so many things on the spectrum of interest in my life, and yet at the end of the day, it's good for me to pick something and be able to focus on that, or give myself some kind of constraints so that it forces me to focus. And 10 minutes is working out really well. 1 more minute. So I guess that's it. That's today's video. And what's cool about it is I noticed that even in that short sharing, there were so many other things coming up in my mind that I then felt this urgency to talk about. And those can be later videos, so there's plenty of content. Don't worry about it. There's always going to be something to talk about. There's always going to be something to share. There's always going to be things coming up. I'm never going to be without something to talk about, to share, to think about, to explore. it's infinite, really. And it's nice to see that, and then see how knowing that just like kind of is such a relief. Just, it's fine, man. There's plenty of things. So, okay, that's today's post. Thanks.